Hello, viewers. Welcome to Let's Talk Strategy, the show where we explore the minds of bold founders and industry leaders shaping their business with purpose and strategy. Today, I'm joined by Chandni Sahrawat, the powerhouse in New Zealand's hospitality industry. Alongside her husband, Chef Sid, Chandni has been a co founder of restaurants like Cassia, Sid at the French Cafe, KOL, and Anise. She's also behind Cassia at Home, Good Food Journey, and Goal Getters, a community driven initiative designed to empower and support migrant women in Aotearoa. Chandni blends entrepreneurship with deep advocacy, championing migrant rights, workplace equity, and cultural connection through food and storytelling. Chandni, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Ankur. It's nice to be on.
Lovely. So let's just quickly jump to the questionnaire session. This is a five-segment session that we're running. So segment number one is building a legacy. So Chani, you've helped build some of the most beloved restaurants in New Zealand. How did your journey into hospitality begin?
I didn't actually start in hospitality. I say I got married into hospitality. So my background is education. I came to New Zealand at 17 years of age in 2002 and did my Bachelor of Arts with the University of Auckland. And then I was working in retail and met Sid. And at that time, we decided to get married, and he is the chef. He has the hospitality background. I'm just a big fan of eating good food and enjoying good service. So I became a teacher, and I was teaching at Rangitoto College and then at Howick College when we had our first child. And that's when I realized that work-life balance with being married to a chef who comes home at 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. is really hard because, like, other people come home at 5 and expect their husband to help with things in the household. I didn't have that. I was kind of solo parenting. And also when I looked around at the then hospo powerhouses, they were always couples. So I said to Sid, maybe we should merge forces and I should work with you because I have a business background in my own family. I said I can bring the business expertise to the operations of the restaurant. And we opened our first restaurant in 2009 called Siddharth once I became a teacher.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And that actually tells to the next question that I have is what's unique about how you and Sid approach to the business side of food?
Sid is definitely the more creative one, so I don't get into the kitchen and tell him how to cook.
Mhm.
And I am the more business operations marketing person in the business. So we try and keep our parts quite separate. Sometimes, like COVID is an example where I have to try and tell the chef what to do and put food into a box, which is not a very good situation to be in. Um, but we try and keep to our expertise, and that way we don't overlap each other.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Next is Cassia at Home and Good Foods Journey. That reflects your passion for culture and community. So, how did those ventures take shape?
So Cassie at Home is a COVID pivot, literally, for lack of a better word. In 2020, when we were all told to shut our restaurants down, you might have viewers from other parts of the world. New Zealand was very, very hard. You could not even do deliveries in level 4. In level 3, you had some allowance to go and do deliveries, very, very strict regulations. So there was something that at the time was called an essential service. And I started looking at what are essential services. And for us, it was supplying to supermarkets could make you an essential service. And in the heart of that decision was we had about 25 staff who were from India, and we needed to make sure that they had money to send home during that time and keep afloat. So it stemmed from how can we make sure that everyone survives this. And so I decided to make Cassia an essential service by accessing some funding from the Regional Business Partners Fund and using that with a consultant. And we literally created Cassia at Home from the day it was perceived in my head to actual execution, 2 months. And in that time, I taught myself how to write a NIP, which is a nutritional informational panel, what packaging and hospitality, like FMCG looked like, which was so different to hospitality, and also taught myself some scientific basic principles like pasteurization, which I didn't have any idea how to get a curry sauce into a jar. So there was a very steep learning curve, and then we launched that in November 2020. The demand for it was so high that we had to stop in December 2020 because I was hand labeling everything. And I go back to saying that I usually, wives never say that their husbands are right, but my husband was right. That when we actually opened the restaurant again in level 2, it became unsustainable to make everything in the kitchen. And so we had to get a contract manufacturer because from day one we were on pre-order. So we would make the sauce, it would fly out of the door, and then I had to start the process again the next day. It was just demand overtook supply. So we moved to a contract manufacturer in 2021, January, and since then it's been smooth sailing and the brand's been expanding. Good Food Journeys is not a brand, even though that we own. It's something we collaborate on. Sid and we are shareholders in the business. And that's through a dear friend called Malhar. He had this vision of having culinary journeys, and he approached us. And to be honest, Sid and I have not been going back to India as much as we would like and as much as our families would like. And what you remember as a child, I find when you go back home to India, you see it in a different light as a grown-up. Like I have seen Fatehpur Sikri before as a child, and I just seeing it as a grown-up, you just look at the culture and the history in a different way with a new understanding. And what's really special is to take people from New Zealand who have not had that deep cultural history, and seeing something from 1800s to them is just unimaginable. And then seeing so much culture, experiencing so much food, is just looking at a place where you grew up with someone else's eyes, through someone else's eyes, is just so fascinating and so fulfilling. So I've done one trip, and Sid's just come back from doing a trip. He did South India, and I did Delhi and Rajasthan and Agra. So it was really fulfilling for us to do that, and we're going to continue doing that.
That's beautiful and really good to learn. And one thing definitely is the thing that going to India or going to homeland after a long time, it changes the perception of how you originally saw it versus how you once you've learned about it and you see it with a different perspective. So that's definitely beautiful.
And isn't it like when you go back, if it's not a trip like this where you're taking visitors, you end up just going to see your family in your hometown. And you never actually take a holiday in a country where you were born and see aspects of it that you've never seen before. So I feel I get to feel a bit of a tourist as well and see things again. And it's really, we've collaborated with Good Food Journeys to do that. And it's for me, it's just nice to host people and show India to them.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. Lovely. So let's jump on to the next question. So what's a new initiative or project that you're currently working on?
So Goal Getters literally is something I've started a couple of weeks back. It's week 2 this week. I've got one client already that I'm helping, but it's to empower women. I just felt like I have been working in different segments. I've worked for Breast Cancer Foundation and been a project manager. Then I've worked with Victoria Food and Beverage, who was a dear friend of mine. And I'm going and working in these organizations. But after a while, I finished the organizational need. And I always like to leave a place in a better way than I found it, which I feel like I do. But I want to now be able to contract out to such needs to a customer without actually becoming their employee. It gives me a little bit more independence with my time. And so I decided to create Goal Getters so I can share hospitality, knowledge, and helping other venues, women-led or men-led or couple-led, in doing better in hospitality. Also life coaching. So I'm doing, I've got a couple of degrees. I've got my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. I've got a postgraduate in counseling and guidance from Massey University. I'm currently doing a graduate certificate in coaching so that I can help people with life coaching skills as well. And I feel like when you come as a migrant, especially a migrant woman, there are barriers that are hard to overcome, and there is a bit of self-esteem and self-belief issues that we come with. And if I can empower those women to fit in, to lead, and to be proud of their diversity, because that actually adds to any workplace. It doesn't take away, and also help them if they need to be entrepreneurs. I can help them through coaching discover what it is that they want to do and fulfill those goals. So, Goal Getters is all about that, helping companies with project management, helping hospitality businesses or businesses understand where they could be going strategically, and also empowering women in their careers, in their work-life balance through life coaching.
It's amazing. And speaking of strategy, that's the time for us to move to the next segment, which is strategy behind the secrets or the scenes. So in this segment, there are a few questions here again, starting from the first, which you've already spoken about, that you wear many hats, like from working in operations to HR to marketing to, taking so many degrees and taking up the educational challenge to make yourself more relevant for whom you'd be tackling with. So what's your personal approach to strategy across these all roles that you've taken so far?
I think alignment. If something you feel that you're aligned with, go for it. It doesn't always plan out. Strategy is just basically a plan. So as long as the plan is aligned to your values and to how you feel and to the current circumstances in your life, go for it. Sometimes you make a plan which is right for just the moment. I was teaching for that period of time, say 4 years. It then didn't suit my needs. So I changed that plan. And so as long as you're aligned with your values, what it is that you want to prioritize in your life at the point, that's where your strategy should come from. If your strategy is based on something like making money, you're not going to find that alignment, and your strategy is going to fail, because it has to have deep intrinsic motivation coming for it, and it has to have some value. That's what I believe. Some people may just be okay with making money any way, shape, or form, but I don't think that's a strategy you want to follow. So for me, it's always about alignment.
That's a perfect response, and I really like the essence on the value as well, which I am a big believer as well. Awesome. So just recapping on one of the points that you earlier mentioned about Sid being the creative eyes of the business and you being the operational eyes. So the question is, how do you balance the creative vision with your operational discipline?
It becomes quite hard in times like recession, for example, like we're going through now, where your P&L doesn't justify the creativity to keep spending more, for example. And there's not an example that you may want to put the best produce in the world on the plate, and that is your value, your ethos. But at the same time, you have to balance the books. And there is a real fine balancing act. And as soon as you find that balance going one way or the other, you have to bring it back in time. You can't just be making lots of profit and serving people really bad food, or treating your staff badly by paying them pennies, because then they're not delivering the product you want. So it's a fine balance between creativity, fiscal responsibility, and being a good employer. And as long as you balance that, your concept should work well, because people will see that it comes from the heart and it does good in the community, and they will support it.
Now that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Next is just an example from your life, from your personal life. Just can you share a defining decision or a strategic decision that changed your trajectory of one of your ventures?
I guess one of the biggest ones was Cassia recently. We were located in Fort Lane. We got flooded in the floods in 2023, and we had always been an owner. We'd never had any other model in our business portfolio. We were always owner operated, 100% family owned business. We had no shareholders, partners, etc. So when we were looking at that crucial time, it was really hard to find a space that had a tandoor, which could be powered by charcoal. There are building requirements and regulations. Trying to renegotiate a lease within the CBD seemed like nearly impossible. People wanted double the rent we were paying. So we were in quite a tight fix. And again, we were worried about our staff, of the families that they supported in turn, and was really not their fault. And you can only stretch insurance money to X amount before the insurer says start laying people off. And we didn't want to get to that point. So within a month, we had spoken to Sky City because we remember that they had a restaurant called The Grill, which had cooking facilities that had charcoal in it. And so we approached Sky City and had a discussion with them and said, how quickly can we turn this around? In 6 weeks from the day we decided, we had a restaurant up and running in Sky City, serving the exact same food as we did in Fort Lane. And it was the biggest thing was it was dry and safe for the people to come in, because we felt really it had been back-to-back 2 floods over 2 years. So we felt like we created a space. It wasn't the same. You lose some of the things that you have done in the past in another place, like Cassia and Fort Lane was underground. We couldn't recreate that. But it was a good strategic decision at the time for the welfare of the staff. It also has taught us a lot working alongside a corporate. They had never actually they create their brands. They don't ever work with existing brands. So we were the first brand that they, as a corporate, worked with that is not owned by them. So we still have independence while we work with a corporate, and it's quite interesting how they view things versus how we did things as a family-run business. So we're learning a lot. And hopefully we continue with this amazing partnership, because there was no Indian restaurant in the Sky City precinct, and we're the first one. So it's a big honor to us and hopefully the entire community.
And just to add to that, I love the ambience there. I've just been there in March, and it's really amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome. The next question is yet again related to Cassia. So I just recently read about Cassia's tie with Singapore Airlines. Would you like to share some insights on that?
So that was actually something in the making since 2019. We started talking to Singapore Airlines. They wanted Sid's Food as a New Zealand chef, as a guest chef on their first class and business class flights. But then we all know what happened in 2020. No planes were flying. And then we again started having a discussion with them, I'd say about 2022, but at that time there was a massive staffing crisis in hospitality. So even though we wanted to and they wanted to, we didn't have the manpower to execute. And the last thing either brand wanted was to put food on a plate in a plane and not be 100% about our offering. So we pulled back, and finally this year the menu has started to fly since February. So all business class and first class flights out of Auckland and Christchurch now have Cassia and the French Cafe's menu designed by Sid. And you can also pre-order it with Book the Cook. So it's really nice to see a New Zealand cuisine and New Zealand produce being actually represented by a non-Kiwi born person as well, I would say. So it's a real matter of pride for us. And we wish it was, our national airline doing it, because I think food and comfort are the two things that as a passenger we look forward to while traveling. I don't care about other things while I'm flying. I'm just like, my experience is defined by my ability to relax and my ability to enjoy good food in the air. And Singapore Airlines is a great partner for that. So we hope Air New Zealand takes note and starts heroing some New Zealand chefs in the sky as well.
That'd be awesome. And we would love to see that in Air New Zealand as well.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Next is just apart from your UOA 40 under 40, which is itself a big achievement, what is one proud moment of your work that you're really happy about?
For me, I guess also having being nominated by Cuisine as a Women in Food and Drink. that is New Zealand's premier magazine or publication, and for them to start thinking about what women contribute in a very male-centric environment, hospitality. While we pride women in cooking at home, there aren't very many female chefs or female operators in the food business or the food industry. So for them to start recognizing that has been quite important and significant to me, because they're my peers. Yeah, the 40 under 40. I mean, I say I was not the child in India who went up and made her parents proud by getting a prize. I was the child who was standing by the principal's office most often for not doing well. So for the university to recognize that as a contribution has been a great honor for me, because I have never been someone who's been very academic until I
And
came to New
that's
Zealand.
and that's absolutely inspiring as well. So thank you for sharing this part of your journey with all the immigrants so that they can actually learn and skip on that part as well. Lovely. So let's jump to the next segment, which is impact. Now, in this segment, we'd be talking more about goal getters. So tell the audience more about what goal getter is and what inspired its creation.
So I was always inspired, like I said, with my alignment theory, is I think about very often when I'm at career points where I'm like, what should I do next? It's always going back to my values and what is important to me at the time. And one of the things that drove me to teaching was to help people. I actually wanted to become a school counselor, but I became a teacher because I was not educated in New Zealand. My schooling was done in Pune in India. So you cannot help someone if you haven't experienced their circumstances. So I first became a teacher to understand the New Zealand education system. And then I wanted to become a counselor. I went ahead and did my postgraduate in guidance and counseling. But then I was pregnant, so I couldn't do my master's. And our businesses were taking off. So circumstances intervene no matter what you do. And finally, I'm at a crossroads again where I had, after the flooding of Cassia, distanced myself a little bit from the business so that I could focus on my own goals. And it's just come to me that what makes me happy is helping other people succeed. So I've tried to align myself back to psychology, and I found coaching was a very positive field to be in. I'd never considered it before. I'd always looked at counseling. Counseling looks at your past, and if you imagine someone with all their problems as like a big sack on their neck, it helps you lift that sack away or make it easier for you to walk. So that's counseling. It's very important. You have things like depression, anxiety, PTSD to deal with. That's when
100%.
you go see a counselor. So I'm not taking anything away from that field. In fact, I actually really believe that go to the doctor. If you've got the flu, you got to see the doctor. So if you're feeling sad, depressed, blue, please go see a doctor. If you've got anxiety symptoms, treat it just as you would with a physical ailment. But coaching looks forward. And there are a lot of well people who feel lost at times. And it's not that you're depressed. It's not that you may be a little bit anxious about where your life is going. And you sometimes just need someone else who's been there, done that, has some expertise, but is not telling you what to do. A mentor tells you what to do, or a consultant guides you in a specific way. This coaching is just about helping you figure it out for yourself, holding you accountable, like a personal trainer. That's the best way I can put it. When you go to the gym because you want to lose weight, you can go and do it on your own, and it seems really hard. But you could start off with a personal trainer, show you the best moves for your body, and then you will be able to hit your weight goals faster. Similarly, coaching mind. So I can work with someone and draw out exactly what they're aligned to, what their values are, and help them move forward, break those barriers and reach those goals, so that they can be long-term goals, they can be short-term goals. You could need coaching for maybe just 6 sessions, or you might want a coach for the next few years. It's just partnering up with the right person to do that.
Totally. That makes sense. And also, you've been an advocate for migrant rights and gender equity. So, what experience shaped this mission for you?
I think for me, once I became a business owner, and like I said, all our businesses pre-COVID were 50%. And I could see what they were going through. I've been a migrant, and it's really hard to, know that there's always this fear that you're going to have to go back to India and you've not succeeded, or you're going to have to pack your bags and leave because you're not getting your residence for whatever reason because of policy changes. You may have thought you've got this future, you've made the strategy, I'm going to settle down and grow up, grow my family in New Zealand, but that can be whisked away in a second. So you have this fear constantly, but migrants bring a lot to our country and community. And they also have a valuable perspective. And I just felt with the government playing politics with, one government coming in, another one coming in from a different party, they would try and use immigration as a political football, and they were playing with migrants' futures. And migrants were just feeling like they're in just, it's all up and down. You don't know what's going to happen, and it depends really who's going to win. And the sentiment can be one day very positive towards migrants, the next day it could turn very awkward towards migrants and negative towards migrants. And that just needed to stop. So I was very vocal. In fact, in Metro Awards, I stood up when we were winning an award, and I called who was the then mayor of Auckland, and I said, "Are you going to let the government make these changes? Because you will all go back to eating fish and chips." We have such diversity in our culture, in our food, and it's come from the New Zealand I came to 20 years ago to where it is now. There's been a lot of growth. So we shouldn't lose that diversity just because a government is changing. There has to be a sustained immigration plan with clear outcomes for the people who come on certain policies, not mishmash. Change one person changes something today and another person changes that tomorrow. It's got real human lives in the background. And then during COVID, I just felt like we were using all the working holiday visa holders, all the migrants to do all the low income jobs. And then we were telling them, you can go now. So I just thought that was absolutely unfair. So I wrote a letter to Jacinda Ardern, the then Prime Minister of New Zealand, and I said, it's not just hospitality, it's just the ethics of these. If we want to be like a Middle Eastern country that uses people for their labor, let's make that very clear and explicit right at the start. Let's not use people and then send them back home to unknown conditions in this world right now when they've been helping our economy really develop. And I just feel like you can keep quiet or you can stand for something. So I'd rather stand for something, and I don't care if it's right or left. If something's wrong, I'm a citizen of New Zealand. I should be able to tell who I want. If I've got the platform to bring awareness, I should be making that awareness. And I'm luckily that government actually gave a lot of migrants the 2020 residence visa. So a lot of our workforce, actually chefs who had worked for us for 10 years, got residence, which was great.
That's lovely. Thanks for that. So what is that one advice that you would offer to migrant women who are actually looking to build their own path?
Again, find out what you really value and what your purpose is. If you find that first, then pursue it and don't give up. You may come and see lots of failures, lots of obstacles in your way, but if you persist and you have a plan and a strategy, you will overcome them and you will be successful. You just have to believe that it's coming.
That's really lovely to say. Thank you for that. Jumping on to the next segment, which is culture and the future. So this is a very interesting one. So you've already mentioned that food is deeply cultural. Like, and your Indian heritage has definitely shaped, your venture and voices in New Zealand. But do you see the future in hospitality the same, or would that drastically change?
I think we're going through very turbulent times in hospitality right now. We've got a whole lot of people, maybe because of mainstream media, who think they can quit a restaurant and get, but they have no experience running a restaurant. They don't have any. You may be a good cook, but doesn't mean you could be a great restaurant owner. There are a whole lot of aspects in running a issues, immigration things that you need to worry about, licensing. So it's a different ball game. And I think there are a lot of operators right now and a lot of restaurants. In fact, we've actually sold one of our restaurants only last week, Cole. So there will be a time period where it's going to feel turbulent with the recession as well, because people are becoming more and more discerning about where they spend their money. And they don't have that much disposable income. So they're going for the cheap and cheerful right now. Once the economy stabilizes, we will see the return, I think, of people putting money in more quality places again. You may be able to get McDonald's 6 days of the week, but you might change to having one mid to high end meal a month. And so that disposable income will come back in once people have that money and their mortgages are not taking all their money away. So I think we're in for a little bit of a turbulent time. I can see within the last 2 years, it was at one point we had such shortages of employees that the employee was the king, and they would demand anything and you'd have to pay them. There were times you were paying a kitchen dishwasher $28 an hour 2 years ago. Now the tables have turned because of recession. People are losing their jobs. Restaurants are closing. Venues are closing. So the labor market's changed as well. And I guess right now is the time for, I would say, people to upskill so that when you come on the other side, you've got more skills and you can land yourself a job, whether it be in hospitality or in any other industry that is going to be paying you what you deserve to be paid.
100%. That's awesome. Next question is, any goals that you're chasing for the next couple of years for Cassia and Goal Getters both?
I'd like to really grow Goal Getters to becoming a community of women who are out there trying to help each other. So yes, I'm happy to help coach you to a certain point, but then I'd like people to be able to network. And I feel like when we network, we leverage so much out of each other. And when you come to New Zealand or when you migrate to a new country, it's such a lonely experience. It's hard to make friends with like-minded people. So I hope to make Goal Getters into a community where people can actually feed off each other, discuss ideas, where you can, go ask another entrepreneur a question without feeling like you're making. My dog has decided someone's at the door. So I want Goal Getters to become a community where an entrepreneur can just reach out to another entrepreneur, not feel like they're inconveniencing that person, that we're there to support women or other entrepreneurs in their journey and see them succeed in any way, shape, or form. I've been blessed to have so many people help and mentor me over the years and close friends who are on business. I would love that community to come together. For Cassia, our goal is just to keep giving people a taste of India, which they've never experienced in a different, before, because Cassia is not a traditional Indian restaurant. And a lot of people now understand that in Auckland. After 11 years, we marry New Zealand produce and love showcasing the best of New Zealand produce with Indian classic Indian flavors. So we hope to continue bringing something different and educating people and hopefully collaborating people around other chefs around the world and maybe opening a Cassia sometime in India, sometime in Dubai, and LA, where I hear there aren't very many great Indian restaurants. So if we could spread that magic around so more people get to enjoy local produce and Indian flavors, that would be great.
I would love to see that, definitely. Awesome. Thanks, Chandni. Jumping on to the last segment, which is the rapid fire round. Very quick and very hasty. So first one is, what is your go-to comfort food?
Khichdi.
Best response.
Nothing beats khichdi. And if khichdi is not available like that, my mom and dad live next door. If mom's not able to make me khichdi, it'll have to be Maggie. Masala Maggie that you come home to after school. If I have nothing and I'm really tired and I can't be bothered cooking, I will be making myself a Maggie.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for that. Next is first app mobile application that you check every morning.
Instagram, sadly, social media.
That's awesome. Next is one book, podcast, or person that had an influence on you.
The book has to be The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. That's my favorite book. You said book or podcast, right?
Yeah, or even a person.
Podcast or a person. Look, I look up to Simran Kaur from Girls That Invest, Nadia Lim, who is a fellow hospital leader. She's got her own farm and her own cookbooks, and my food bag, which I get every week, I must say. In my house, we eat my food bag, and she laughs about it because she eats Cassia at home. So that's what I mean. If we can get that kind of community from goal getters where we can all be connected and supporting each other, that would be great. And then there's a podcast which I really find hilarious and really relevant. It's by two Indian girls based in Canada, and it's called Okay Mom. And they explore things like in that they see like why do we hate on each other sometimes, and they'll talk about all these really interesting things about it's just two Indian girls just going at it. And I love listening to them. It cracks me up because you will get the auntie eye roll being discussed in the podcast, and you're like, I really relate to that. So it helps me relate today.
That's awesome. Thanks for that. So, this is a daily habit or a mindset that keeps you grounded.
Visualization. I really, really believe in visualizing your goals. So before I get out of bed in the morning, some people think I'm just lazing in my bed in the morning, but I'm actually closing my eyes and visualizing a goal. And I have found that 90 to 99% of the times, whether I've written a goal down and then visualized it over and over again, I actually achieve it. So whether it be flying business class, it'll happen. Whether it be imagining having, at the moment for me, 30 women or 40 women in goal getters, creating a community, I feel like I will reach that for sure if I keep visualizing it. And it really grounds you and directs you for the day to focus on that subconsciously. You may not feel like that 5 minutes in the morning is doing anything to your day, but subconsciously you will think of it. It's a technique like if I say to you pink elephant, you're going to start thinking pink elephant, even though pink elephants do not exist. But in your head, you will start thinking it. So you need to train your mind to start thinking of that thing, and it is in the background, just like a pink elephant, all the time.
Totally makes sense. And definitely one of the greatest advices that I've got. So thank you for that. Lovely. And one last question is one lesson that you would pass on to the next generation of women leaders.
Women are special because they bring with them a nurturing, caring, and they bring their heart. So don't lose perspective of those things because they're quite important to your role. Don't feel scared to be vulnerable. I believe in leading with vulnerability and care and love. It doesn't make you a weaker leader. I don't know why we define leadership as somebody standing there being strong. I feel true leadership is by understanding the person across you. I know we're dealing with a lot with AI and technology, and that's great, but at the moment we still deal with people. Leadership is you can't lead AI. You can you lead people. So you work for people, you work with people, and you lead people. So if you want to be a leader, remember that there are people are everything in that mix. So you need to show emotion, heart. If you're having a horrible day, there is nothing better than to say, listen, I'm having a shit day because of this. Be honest, be vulnerable, and people understand, and it goes a long way. If someone is breaking down, show compassion. instead of going, you haven't done this, you are terrible. Find out what the reasons are for that person's performance. Improve them and you can't help them. That's a different strategy you need to employ. But first, come from a place of heart. And I think women do that a lot better because we're not trying to do one up and try and always get a promotion. And I think that's if we keep that in mind, the world will be a lot better and the workplace will be a lot better.
Love to hear that. Thank you so much, Chandni. So this brings us to the end of our talk show. Chandni, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure. I've learned so much from you, especially your journey of shaping some of the New Zealand's most iconic dining experiences, Cassia, and that's really awesome. Also, your leadership and making it worth that. It's not just about business; it's about the community. So that's a great learning. So thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you, Ankur. Thanks for having me.
Lovely. To all the listeners as well, if Chandni's story resonated with you, don't forget to follow the show and share this episode to someone who dreams of creating impact with purpose and strategy. Until next time, keep learning, keep building, and keep talking strategy. Thank you so much, Chandni.
Thank you.